Pasta. Yeah, you can get it in a box, but you know what else comes in boxes? Spiders. Plus, the stuff in a box doesn't taste nearly as good as what you can make at home. All it takes is flour, an egg, salt, and olive oil, and you can get the best pasta you can possibly have. So come along with me on this culinary adventure as I show you how to make pasta from scratch in a sauce that'll cost you a quarter of what you'd be charged at a restaurant. So roll up your sleeves if you've got them, wash your hands, and let's get cooking. For one portion of pasta, dump 3/4 of a cup flour onto your work surface and create a well in the center. Make it wider than you might think you need it to be, otherwise you're likely to spill eggs like a Gen Z spills tea. Add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and 1/4 of a teaspoon of olive oil before mixing the eggs and slowly incorporating flour into the mixture. Eventually you'll have to ditch the fork and use your hands to finish mixing, and then it's on to kneading. Use the base of your hand to roll out the dough and then rotate it 90 degrees and repeat. Do that over and over for roughly 10 minutes or until your pasta dough has the consistency of Play-Doh and a gentle poke leaves an indent that slowly springs back. Now flour your dough and wrap it in a plastic bag or plastic wrap and set a timer for 30 minutes, or the time it takes to write a heartfelt letter to Anderson Cooper. This will let your dough rest and the gluten relax and let you really let Mr. Cooper know how much he means to you. Once the timer is up, flour your work surface in a rolling pin before you start to flatten out your pasta. Once you got a suitably flat dough, you'll notice craggly edges all along it. Take it and fold it into thirds on itself, and then rotate it 90 degrees, and keep rolling out. Do this until your dough is smooth and you don't see craggly edges anymore. Now roll out your dough so thin that you could hold it up and read a heartfelt letter to Anderson Cooper through it. Now just cut your dough to the length you want your pasta and lightly flour before folding it back onto itself. Use a knife to cut your dough into the type of pasta you want. Here I'm making wide fettuccine.
And congrats! You made pasta.
Now onto the sauce. For this you'll need a can of minced clams, 3 cloves of garlic, white wine, Parmesan Reggiano, and parsley. Drain the minced clams into a bowl over a fine mesh strainer. While the juices drip down, chop your cloves of garlic. Now over medium-high heat, pour 2 tablespoons of olive oil into a pan and let that heat up before adding the garlic. Cook until just sweated and then add 1/4 of a cup of white wine. Do try your best not to catch anything on fire.
I accidentally flambéed.
Instead, just allow some of that alcohol to cook off before adding the drained juices, but not the clams, into the pan. You need to let the sauce reduce first. Just let it sit on the heat and stir occasionally as it reduces. Put a pot of heavily salted water on the stove. For every quart of water, add 1 teaspoon of salt. It should be as salty as my tears after I watched Toy Story 3, or about as salty as the ocean. Add your fresh pasta to the water once it's boiling. Because fresh pasta takes only about 60 to 90 seconds to cook, you can add your clams now. If you're doing this with box pasta, don't add them until the very end of the cooking time. Once the pasta is finished, add it to your sauce and stir before plating it. Pouring the remaining sauce and clams into the dish and topping it with parsley and Parmesan Reggiano, and then deciding to switch that order and make it Parmesan Reggiano and then parsley. Now dig in and enjoy your cheap fruits of labor.
Now, because we made this meal from scratch, it cost us just $4.17. And when compared to similar meals I found online at restaurants, they would have cost us $17, saving us $12.82, which is a pretty good deal if you ask me.
If you want other pretty good deals and delicious meals, why don't you stay a while and subscribe to Frugal Foods? Whatever you do, stay fresh.